I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We're still getting some microphones up. I see we have a quorum tonight, and we need to revise the agenda to take off in number 4, the presentation of Cognia. Because of the weather, Dr. Harrison is not going to be able to be here tonight. So can we get a motion to approve this agenda?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
Okay. All in favor with a show of hands? All opposed? We are going to move into receiving as information item B, which is dual enrollment and library media updates from Dr. Blackenley. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to Mr. Mitchell for the Ed Farm service agreement.
Good evening, board members, Board Chair Will, Assistant Chair Mitchell, Superintendent Moore, all board members. If you can see before you, I am recommending approval of the services through Educational Farm, Ed Farm, in amount of $446,500. Ed Farm is an instructional technology company that will provide, cultivate, change program and support to Montgomery Public School middle schools, 10 of our middle schools, in the following ways: ICANN Summer Programming, Teacher Fellows Program, Student Fellows Program, Code Clubs. In the Code Clubs, it'll be Code Essential, Light, and Swift Code Clubs. And also, if you can see, we are also being given the opportunity to have a Classroom of Tomorrow Learning Lab in kind of $225,000. So that is great news. And Ed Farm is in partnership with Apple to provide the technology support in our middle schools. This particular board approval item supports strategic goals 1 through 6. Are there any questions?
I had one, Mr. Mitchell. I wanted to know about is this just a summer thing, or will this be rolling over into the school year? Great
question. It'll be going from June 1st to June 2022. So it'll be a June 2021 to June 2022 program. So it'll be a year and a month.
Okay, a year and a month.
Yes.
And how many schools, will it be just the middle schools only?
It'll be all the 10 middle schools only.
Okay.
With the hope that eventually we can spread it into the high schools and or the elementary schools as well.
And the cost, is that per school or for the whole total program?
That's for the total program. That's 1 year for the total program. And broken out, ICANN summer programming is $26,500. The Teacher Fellows program is $150,000. The Student Fellows program is $160,000, and the Code Clubs is $110,000. And again, you have the micro classroom labs of $225,000. That's considered in kind, which is great news of support.
Also, I'd like to add, Ms. Smith, that we do plan to continue it up through the grades. The training will continue as we finish with the middle school, so that when they get ready to go to high school, they will be able to transition into some programs at the high school level.
I just want to add, it's a really exciting looking program. The kids that looked at it at the preview were all enthused, and so were the teachers. So I think it's going to be a good, I think it's going to be a good program. Any other questions for Mr. Mitchell? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Watts, we have a financial statement.
I want to say Dr. Blakeney is back if you wanted to. She had walked out for a moment. I don't know if we wanted to.
We'll come right back to her. We'll get Mr. Watts and then come back.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Madam Superintendent. Madam President, before I get started, let me say thank you to each and every one of you, along with the superintendent, all of our administrative staff, principals, assistant principals, counselors, all of our teachers and support staff, and all of those who sent to me and my family your prayers mainly. Your prayers, your support, the food, and everything that you provided me during the bereavement of my daughter. I really, really appreciate it, Madam President, and I cannot tell you how much that really helped me, just knowing that that support was there. So thank you all again. Madam President, you should have before you the financial statement for fiscal year 2021, the month of March, which is the 6th month of the fiscal year. Of course, March represents 50% being the 6th month of the fiscal year. Contained in the financial statement is the state explanation of financial data, which provides the CFO's discussion of the district's financial standing as of March. Also, there's a snapshot analysis, which is a brief synopsis of the district's financial position as of March. A monthly budget percentage, again, this is the 6th month. March represents the 6th month of the fiscal year, which is at 50%. A monthly and annual comparative statement of revenues and expenditures, which lists all of our month-to-date and year-to-date revenues and expenditures, as well as exhibits, the combined statements, the combined balance sheet, which speaks to the district's financial position, and the statement of revenues, expenditures, and change in fund balance, which in private industry would be determined an income statement. And there's also a definition of accountability for the board's perusal. Madam President, I will just say that as of March of the fiscal year, the district is doing very, very well. As you know, our fund balance requirement is about $18.4 million. We are projecting now, we raised up our projections as to where we'll end the fiscal year. And we are projecting now to end the fiscal year with over $36 million, which is 2 times the state requirement. So we are very, very happy about that. Our expenditures as of March is running at about 47%. Again, we know that we're at a 50% level being the 6th month of the fiscal year. So we feel very, very good as to where we are. And we just see some wonderful, wonderful things happening. And I'm not going to steal the superintendent's thunder, but I love the sight of that check up there. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Any questions? I noted when I was going through here that we did not have as many expenditures, and that's because part of this, we're not serving as many students right now.
Yes, ma'am, that is a great part of it. However, The other part of it is because the board made some very, very difficult decisions about 2 years ago, to kind of help us be removed from the state situation financially. That also played a major part as well. But yes, the COVID, spending less expenditures during COVID, that is correct.
Thank you. Any questions? We're glad you're back, Mr. Watts.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Okay, we're going to circle back around. Dr. Blakeney is back, the dual enrollment and library media updates.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. Have a lot to cover with a couple of different areas, so I'll go ahead and try to do it very quickly. Our school library media programs were able to be successful this year. We haven't ended the year, but it's very different when you can't have the kids come to the library. They were able to have both synchronous and asynchronous lessons, so they recorded them and used them whenever the teachers were able to fit them in, or either they had the live lessons too. We worked with Mr. Anderson early on to make sure that we could successfully circulate some of our print media and be very careful with it, and that worked for some of our schools. We also used Mayan and digital resources from the public library. They are partners of ours. We were able to continue on with our Read Across America celebrations and lots of challenges and reading contests this year to make sure that the students stayed engaged in reading and literacy. Next slide. The goal for library media in our strategic plan falls under Goal 1. Every student is college and career ready upon graduation. And it's Strategy 6, utilize school library and counseling programs to encourage and support college and career achievement. What we have is that in order for the district to support this, I was able to write a grant to the Lewis Collins Foundation, received that grant award, and was able to purchase career books that would create a beginning foundation for all of our school libraries. There's also a shared vision. Thank you. There's also a shared vision that I shared with the librarians at the beginning of the year, and it was based on the strategic plan. And we talked about how they would work and they would increase the resources in that area. The current status of our library programs, like a lot of the programs, we have some vacancies in our library program. We've worked with the HR department like we did last year. We had an interest fair, and we gained about 5 new librarians in the library this year working with them. We're going to have another one this year and hope to fill those positions. Okay, into dual enrollment. When we start with dual enrollment, we really have to get into definitions, because dual enrollment is a little bit slippery when you look at it. Dual enrollment means, thank you, dual enrollment on its face value means students being enrolled in a high school and a college environment at the same time, right? When we're talking about dual enrollment on a daily basis for us, we're saying dual enrollment is when a student is going to take a course. Yes, they are a high school student, but they're taking a course and they're only going to get college credit for it. What we call dual enrollment for dual credit, and the state does also, is when a student is both a high school student and a college student at the same time, taking a course that will replace an Alabama high school graduation course, and that credit is going to be on both the high school and the college transcript. So when we're talking about dual enrollment, we've really got to recognize those differences when we talk about it. When we're talking about dual enrollment for dual credit, we have 2 participation areas in MPS for that. The first one is going to be career tech education, and of course we have Mr. Todd Davis as the director over that area, so I will leave him to speak about that. But several years ago, there was this recognition that we have students who would be interested in taking college courses, but they're not necessarily students who are interested in career tech education, more interested in getting foundational, say, freshman college courses. And so we began working on building a foundation to do this. I work, this is my area, but I couldn't do it without Ms. Kimberly Foster. She is our counseling specialist, and early on when I was doing research to begin working on this program, something stuck with me when I was reading the literature, and the saying was, that counselors are the quarterbacks of dual enrollment. And really, dual enrollment cannot happen in the schools if the counselors are really not on board with it. So when we go into dual enrollment, that also is connected to the strategic plan. And it's goal 1 also. Every student is college and career ready upon graduation. When we're looking at strategy 7, to initiate and develop specialist collaboration, that's the collaborative relationship that I have with Ms. Foster. And then strategy 2, prepare and encourage students to participate in dual enrollment, dual credit courses. We'll look at that as we go through because I really wanted to give you an opportunity to see our website. So next slide. Next slide. Okay. These are our partners in partners, dual enrollment, dual credit partners, academic dual enrollment for dual credit partners. We hold active MOUs with all of these different universities. And this year, it's really important, Mr. Mitchell, with the superintendent, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Watts, Ms. Ototola got on board, and we do have scholarships available. So that has been a real boost to the dual enrollment program this year. Okay, next slide. All right. So what we want to look at today in particular is that we have a couple of different participation options for dual enrollment as we're looking toward summer. The first one are face-to-face courses offered through South University, and that's going to take place on the LAMP campus. And then the other is just various course formats offered by all of our 7 partners, and that could be face-to-face or on their campuses. So now we're going to take that embedded link and go to our webpage. I'm sorry, this is why I was out of my seat earlier. We were trying to, there we go. There we are. Okay, so this can be found under departments at MPS and under curriculum instruction and under dual enrollment for dual credit. Right now, the main page is telling you that we're focused on summer, right? And so we're looking to get these kids interested. We have through this next Friday, the links, you can see we have a face-to-face. This is an opportunity that we really just was able to develop in the past 3-4 weeks. We went to all 8 of our partners, asked them if they would be willing to send an instructor to teach on our LAMP campus. 3 of them were ready to explore that with us. We explored it, and we came down to one that was able to really fulfill it for us. And so if you go up to the top link on the left, this is what all of our students are seeing when they're going on to Schoology. When they're going into the Schoology portal, they're seeing this, and this is our LAMP face-to-face dual enrollment for dual credit. We'll have South University will send instructors onto LAMP's campus, and they will teach our students. We're offering them English, and we're offering psychology for the summer because those are 2 basic courses. And so if we can go back and go to the second link. We also have the second option, and that's for our students to get, just like they do through the school year, to get in contact with any of our other partners and go ahead and set themselves up for summer, whether it's online or on the local campuses. Scholarship covers all of it. That is dual enrollment for dual credit. So if we can go back to the link list. Back to the webpage. MPS webpage. There you go. Okay. All right. I did want you to see that if you look at the link, you'll see the links on the left. You'll see that we did have a dual enrollment fair, an interest fair in March, and so that was recorded and is there for anyone who missed it to be able to go through and see that. We have lots of different ways for our parents and students to be in contact with our partners and with us. There's a link for an interest for the students where they can go through and all they do is type in their name and their school. And our technology department has it so that it goes straight off to the counselor at the school. So when we ask them, do you know of any kids at your school who are interested in dual enrollment? It's ready-made. It's right there for them because it goes directly to them, those rosters. So they have that. And if you will go to the 2021, effective August 2021. That's, no, it's going to be a guidance packet. I'm sorry. Academic DEDC guidance packet, effective 2021. Okay, and that's it. And if you can just open that document very quickly. Our advisory team worked very hard. You know, this is our first year. We consider it our foundational year. We've had approximately 50 kids in the fall, about the same for the spring. That's more than we've had in years past. But we've learned from it. We've let this inform us for how we should move forward. And so this document should make everything much easier. It gives everything that parents and students and I and the superintendent and all of us need to be able to go through. We all have the same answers to the same questions. If you'll just scroll through the document, it gives them the eligibility. All the way through to the second section will give them, just keep scrolling quickly, until we get to the courses, and then we have the approved courses for them. Makes it so much easier for the students, it makes it so much easier for the counselors. And so we certainly utilized our C&I specialists to assist us with that. And if you'll go all the way back, okay, and to the presentation. Okay, the last couple of slides are really just going to be related to some partnership areas that I have responsibility for, and that is going to be the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. We've worked with them. We performed for little girls. It was so neat to see Representative Sewell here today because she took us to 16th Street Baptist Church with that. She also took us to Washington, D.C. with that. So that was a great experience. We've kept in touch with Rick Dildine. The quote that Rick wanted us to know is that the impact of MPS on the Alabama Shakespeare Festival has been as great as the impact of the the Shakespeare Festival on MPS. So that's saying a lot. A new partnership that I just achieved, a couple of slides forward, is with the Montgomery Museum of Fine Arts. And I just started working with them a couple of weeks ago. They have several different opportunities, and one that they've been trying to get off the ground all year, and we've got them really set up to have a good end of the school year with that. So that's it. Yes, ma'am.
And it motivated me to continue college. And I think when kids can put, you know, not just grades in high school, but see and get that imprint of what college is like through the dual enrollment, I think by them doing it at LAMP this summer, and I think it's English and sociology, not psychology.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And the teachers that I've met them, I love. I mean, they're going to
And I think when you have kids interested in college, they can see that light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm just pleased to see MPS walking the walk instead of, sometimes I used to say they just talk the talk, and I thought, yeah, that looks good on paper, well, I'm actually seeing it perform. And if it weren't for you, Dr. Mitchell, Kimberly Foster, and our superintendent, I just couldn't see that, so thank you.
I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one is, how many students can we accommodate right now? I mean, we had 50.
We actually, when we talked to Mr. Watts about money, when Mr. Mitchell went to Mr. Watts about money, we really wanted there to be 150 students per semester. And that was our goal, and he had us funded for that. But what you've got to realize is that we started in May, after everyone was home with the pandemic, right? We went to the schools and said, identify these kids for us, get in touch with them. We know you can't, you can barely get in touch with them, but get in touch with them for this, right? And so we started our kids in August in online classes for colleges. At the same time, they weren't even coming back to school, And so it was a very interesting, and it would have been really easy this year to have said this might not be the year for this, right? But we're very pleased that we had 50 first semester and that we have about that many. And it's really going to be a little bit more than that because the numbers that I have right now until I get everything pulled together is based on the scholarships that we paid. And we actually have students who are involved in dual enrollment for dual credit in some of our high schools that are going on scholarships from, Trenum or ASU, some of the others. So some of the others are funding the scholarships. So the numbers are going to be a little bit higher than that.
That's wonderful. The second question is there any special incentive for the counselors to recommend this? What do we have that's making the counselors push this forward?
I'll get back with you on that. I mean, it's something that we're offering, and the incentive right now is that website that we've pulled together because we have done everything that we can, knowing that this, I said earlier, the school counselor is the quarterback of dual enrollment, right? But keeping that in mind, we've done absolutely everything that we can. That's why it's vital to have the collaboration with Ms. Foster because that's her area. And so we've done everything that we can to put, everything out to where it takes the least amount of engagement. Especially, we just came off a month of testing, so.
Okay, thank you. And anybody else have a question?
My question is going to go towards the financial piece, Mr. Watts. You don't have to come up, but I did want to know, and you can send me an email, is it possible, Dr. Moore and Mr. Watts, that we can increase funding to promote it? I think more families need to know about it, and I think that's probably why the numbers are so low. A lot of people don't know about it. And to, but just to get more than 50 or more than 150, because it is very, it's something that I think a lot of students who are interested in college could take advantage of.
Right.
But just to increase what would be your ideal number of participants?
Well, we have 8 high schools, so, if each high school had 50, right? The sky's the limit.
Right. So, I know you all will talk about it, but I'm like you, Lisa, it's a good opportunity for them to take advantage and have those college credits to go with that diploma, so that's all.
So I think what we found was that a lot of our parents were really not aware of the benefits. And so Allison and others have spent a good deal of time trying to make parents aware of how it really will help their children. And so we want to continue to market it that way and make parents more aware of it. That may take a little bit more marketing money from Mr. Watts, but he's pro-student, I will say that. So he'll help us figure it out. But that was the main thing, I think, that parents just didn't know how much it could help their children and how it would benefit them going on out of high school and into college. So we're trying to make an effort to make sure that parents know. And that's going to take a little bit more work. It's working, it's starting to work, so we're going to continue to work on pushing that out to our parents as well.
And let me say this too, and I don't know if there's any way we could say it, because it's AUM. I know AUM has, is giving free computers, and it's to seniors only. Like, in a way, I'm jealous, because I would have loved my children. I had to pay for my children to go to college.
Right.
And right now, for just seniors, South University, AUM, Troy, I know those three. I think ASU is doing it. They have these incentives. And it's like I know South is $100 per quarter hour. You're looking at $300 per class.
Right.
Let them take 2 classes. You look at $600. They're waiving the registration fees and all that, and just making them pay for an hour. And you're looking at, parents that are paying for their kids, they are going to save mega money.
Right. Oh, if I had been able to let my kids participate, absolutely. I was reading today that the average in Alabama for a public four-year institution per credit hour, of course the class is either 3 or basically 4 credit hours, but is over $450 per credit hour. And so in the spring, AUM offered $50 per credit hour. So you could take a course from them in the spring. I don't know if it goes into summer. I haven't gotten a response from that yet. For $150. Faulkner is always $235. AUM, ASU, $300. And so our different partners are, on a sliding scale. But there's a lot of money to be saved.
Any other questions? Thank you. This
Thank
is
you.
really exciting.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson, we have a facilities update.
Good evening, Dr. Moore, President Wheel, members of the board. Tonight's update is very brief. We are wrapping up several things, but in the summer months, you're going to start seeing some more projects coming your way for approval after the bid process. Capitol Heights roof is approximately 75% complete. They're moving towards the back part of the building, the cafeteria area, to seal that in. And of course, with the weather they've had to kind of knock off on those things, but it should pick back up here in the next day or two. The Union Street elevator project, the elevator was delivered 2 weeks ago, finally, after a long delay, and that's moving quickly. We should be finishing that up here in the next 2 to 4 weeks. There's still a little bit to be done in the board meeting room as far as audio visual, and Mr. Montgomery from MEX will be helping us provide that service to be completed in there, and we'll be in our new board meeting room in the near future. The Brubaker AC finalizing as we speak, and they should be slated to go quickly as the summer begins, when school gets out. With that, it will spill over somewhat into the fall with a few classrooms. We're hoping to mitigate as many as we can from being in that list. They're anticipating about 6 to 8 classrooms probably that will have to be finished there in those first few weeks. Of what we'll do is accommodate with that. I've been working with the principal out there to just give them a heads up on what's coming, and as we get going, we'll know more details. There is project lead times, of course, with COVID. The equipment that's going into these buildings, HVAC and different things, the lead times are starting to expand. One example is the elevator. There was a 10 to 12 week delay on ours and getting that in. That's up to 20 weeks now. So we're starting to see some of the effects of that in some of these projects, and we'll just continue to work with the local schools to make sure we mitigate any kind of issues that arise. The BTW construction is moving along. The footings are being poured. Slabs should be coming in very soon, and then you'll start seeing vertical construction out there. If you've driven by in the last week or so and seen the large gravel area. That is a quarter of the gravel that will go into that underground retainage, to give you a scale of how big that is with those things. So it is, it's moving along quickly. Amison is doing a great job, and their part is the GC, and we'll hopefully can have some pictures here very shortly of some things coming up vertically on that construction as quickly as we can. And then the security vestibules, we should see the storefront glass and door framing coming in here in the next week or two, and they'll be ready to install. We've been working with the schools on their testing schedule to make sure that we don't interfere with the testing schedules that are going out there, and the principals have been great to work with us on those items. And that concludes my portion.
Any questions for Mr. Anderson? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore, some change orders.
Okay, thank you. We have a few projects going on. We don't have a lot going on right now, just because we haven't been able to do some of the things we want to do, but with some of the new money that will be coming in, I'm sure in the future we'll have more. So there are several change orders that I've included in your documents tonight. I think about half of them are actually deductions, which is what you really like to see. And then there will be a few that are additional monies. And they will be, in many cases, because when you get into the project, you find some things that you did not know about until you, say, open up a wall or got into the plumbing and things like that. So those are the few that are in here tonight. And I said, as we get into more and more projects, we'll probably from time to time have change orders which will be brought to the board.
Any questions about the change orders? Okay, we're going to move into the program management consultant presentations, which will start with HPM.
Good evening, Dr. Moore. I'm going to wait, if I could, for them to finish handing out our little document we prepared for you tonight so that we could try and stay within our 10-minute window we've been allocated. Real quick, I'm Mike Lanier. I'm president and founder of HPM, and what I've just handed you is just a little summary of what we feel like is key information from our RFQ response that was submitted to the staff for evaluation some weeks ago. And we're privileged to be here this afternoon. We really appreciate this opportunity to come before you and just talk to you a little bit about our firm, mostly about our team and our approach, and answer any questions that you may have. You're really at a crossroads here for Montgomery Schools. You've got a great plan, a very supportive community as far as funding right now, and you're at a turning point of really making a difference for future generations of kids. And we are excited about the opportunity to be a part of it and lead it for you. On the one side, I wanted to just introduce our team to you. If you'll look to the side that has the faces on it, Derek McSween is who we've proposed as our lead program manager for your account. Derek is in Florida this weekend with his mother, who is today is her 97th birthday. And so I told him to stay put, even though he offered to come here since we had such a brief time together. And then to my left is Tracy Richter, the VP of our Planning Services Group within HPM. And to our right is a face you may recognize, Tammy Knight Fleming from here in Montgomery, who is our partner to execute this plan. And then also not here tonight is Ivy Mitchell, who will lead the program development as Tracy and Tammy's partner in setting budgets and working with Mr. Anderson and Mr. Watson, getting the budgets right for you guys and aligned with the scope. There's two real key things about this program that need to be addressed. It came up, I heard in the last presentation, I've read it a lot in the papers and whatnot, and that's the community participation, both the way they've supported the bond referendum and the way you desire to see that the funds are spent as much as possible here in Montgomery and also with the minority business community. We're real proud of our record as a firm in doing this. We started what we call a mentor protege program 20 years ago, I guess several. And we have worked with a lot of contractors and subcontractors and other smaller program managers than ourselves to help develop them into full-fledged businesses that can stand on their own and compete with us now. And so we're real proud of that record, and Tammy has a few things that she wants to say to you right now about that, and then Tracy will speak, and then we'll open it up to your questions if you have any, and then close. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Dr. Moore, Madam President, and members of the Montgomery Public School System Board of Education. It is my honor to stand before you this evening as a graduate, as a parent, as a supporter, and a promoter of Montgomery Public Schools. I was born and raised in this community. I am the owner of Square Foot Consulting, a project management firm that was started in 2013. The highlight of my tenure in this field has been the $30 million project that I have managed with my team in Talladega, Alabama, with a very strict budget, with many, many challenges, but we have managed to take this project from its infancy to its occupancy, and now we're in our warranty phase. It has been very successful. I'm very proud, but I did not do this by myself. Along the way, when I needed help, when I needed advice, I was able to call Mike Lanier. So I understand what he brings to the table when it comes to support for minority businesses, minority engagement. I was challenged to have a minimum of 14% minority participation on this project. We were fortunate enough through some of our furniture vendors and other independent contracts to have roughly 26%. So I'm very proud of that. In addition, I understand this community. I understand Montgomery. I'm a parent. I'm a PTA president. I'm matriculated through this education system. I know the value. And what you get from a team like this is you have local people here ready to answer your questions, ready to actively participate in the process, ready to host, hold, and partner with you on the charrettes to get the community involvement, to solicit the minority participation. And what I just want you to understand is my office is right across from Floyd Middle School. I'm in the heart of this district. I'm committed, I'm vested, this team is committed, this team is vested, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate your consideration.
Madam Superintendent, Madam President, and honorable members of the board, it is a pleasure to be back in Montgomery. It's a pleasure to be standing next to Ms. Tammy. Excited for an opportunity to work with her. We have a generational opportunity to fund a great program, but it only happens in good planning, and we know that. From the 2012 plan that started something really solid here, built high schools, renovated elementary schools. We made a really good start, but just ran out of funding. Ran out of the banner carriers that would take that plan into the next generation. That needs to be continuous through this plan. Planning's holistic. It is not a demography report. It is not just an assessment report. It is a combination of a strong and bold educational framework that drives facilities to where you need to be in the future. It addresses all of those issues that we have to talk about in facilities planning and hard decisions that have to be made during this planning, and it has to be continuous. The nice part about what I've done in the last 20 years, coming out of education as a teacher and entering into this, is that I've sought these challenges in districts just like Montgomery, all over this country, all over Alabama, to make sure that planning is the solid foundation in education. It's not a facilities plan without education and without the community values and the families represented in this community as a voice in that. It is speaking directly to your educators to build that program, to make sure there's continuity through the system, not just on the curriculum piece, but through facilities. Standards are built so every child has the same opportunity when they walk into any building in this district. And it's got to be continuous, because when you start a plan, what happens in action is there's a reaction. And it's called kind of a coupled process, is that the minute you take action on a facility, the data changes. And so data has to continuously be updated throughout a plan, and it has to be vetted out in your community throughout the plan. This will take a while to complete. This is not a 2 or 3 year building program. Therefore, we can't do all the planning up front and then just abandon it when we've taken action. We need to make sure that that planning is continuous and this community is involved all the way through until the last dollar is spent on your facilities. What we come here is a team of continuity, working side by side that leverages this community value right here and this excitement for this community right here in the planning process all the way through program management and her skill set. And then we bring it right back to the planning. That's how a plan will work, and that's how we succeed in these planning efforts. And that's how we continue to carry the banner for every student and every family in this community, for this generational change that we have an opportunity to do right now. And that's why I'm excited to be back in Montgomery. As an author of that 2012 plan, a community that came together to support it, we can continue that seed. And we don't have to throw all that out. We're just going to continue that good work that was done within this community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to any questions you might have, and then turn it back over to Mike for closing if you have any questions. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for your very, very passionate presentation. I appreciate that it was not just about facts, but the commitment to our community, because I think most people would agree that Montgomery is a very different animal, and to understand our community, to me, is really important. I just have a couple of questions. When y'all made your presentation, your initial interview presentation, were these exact materials passed out?
No, we did not present anything like this because we weren't in person. It was done over Zoom, and what the evaluators had was our original submission to the RFQ in front of them.
Okay.
And that's what we spoke to.
Okay. And let's see. Who did you meet with? Who was on the Zoom? I'm just curious.
It was Dr. Moore, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Watts, and and then procurement. I'm sorry.
Mr. Rudolph. Okay.
Yes.
It was just the four of them.
Yeah, just the four.
Okay. How long do you remember? How long you got to do your interview, or how long it was?
I think we were about 45 minutes.
Okay. And do you know before the, because I know you're aware that Volker was presented to us at our last meeting to be voted on. So do you know how many or if any of your references were checked prior to our last board meeting?
I do not know. I've not heard from any of them.
Okay, okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
I had one, and it may be tedious. It's just listening to Ms. Tammy. You said that you went through the phases. You said you've done things, and you said now we're in the warranty phases. And I wanted, you know, with everybody you're going to have warranties, hopefully. I mean, that's good to know. But can you list, I mean, I think what's important to us is when you see work contracted out, how good was that work? What quality was that work? What did you warranty? And some of the things that we had, some of us noticed, because sometimes the media can give you bad press, whatever. And at least I know the company that we've met owned it, that happened 10, 20 years ago. What would you say that, if you could give me one thing or two things that has popped up that has been warranted? and did you fix it? You know, can you think of anything?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that question. When I referenced warranty in my presentation, this is a phase 1 year after the building is occupied by the owner that we engage with the general contractors for any issues that we have. I'll give you an example of an issue that we had. On this building, we had an issue of a 1 foot height difference between the front of the building, which was a steel structure, and the rear of the building, which was a prefabrication. So when you send off for fabrication, you send measurements, and these didn't add up. So we had to sit down with the contractor, identify those problems, include outside sources and experts on how to remedy that problem. We were able to come to the table and agree on how to make the building look unified and uniform, continuity on both sides where we were impacted by a 1 foot offset. So those are the kinds of things that you mitigate during the warranty period. We just had a leak yesterday. Heavy rain, you understand that you're gonna have issues. There's not a perfect building out there, but having a good working relationship with your general contractors, your owner's rep, your owner, you're able to work through these things. So where our warranty would technically end on next Tuesday, the general contractor is working through the issues that we currently have, and they will all be addressed before everything's released. Thank you for that question.
If I could, Dr. Keith, just to pile on with that too, just a second. Warranty begins during the construction phase. And one of our, if Derek were here, I'll speak, since he's not, I'll speak for him, but we have a very extensive field quality control program that we implement and overseeing the general contractors and subcontractors all the way through the projects once they get underway. And so you catch a lot of things during construction that will turn up to be problems if you allow the building to be completed that way. And at the end of our projects with all of our clients, those records are turned over in total to the client so that their ongoing facilities maintenance staff has the records of how the building was built. And a great example is a retaining wall that might start leaking. We have pictures of the waterproofing going in before the backfill is placed so that they know somebody put their eyes on it, and that hopefully prevents that from happening.
Well, and I thank you for coming up here. And I want to thank you for something kind of off the wall, too. I appreciate bluntness. I appreciate boldness. And you have to, for me, I'm speaking for me, but I think I'm speaking for other people up here. We're 7 ladies. You know, we're 7 ladies that, you know, I was comparing you to, I was talking about this to, like, if somebody came up here and tried to tell me how to put a motor together, or, you know, I need to buy this for my car, I'm going to trust that what you say I need for my car. And then if you felt like you were treated unfair, and I'm not saying anybody's been treated unfair. I hope that hasn't. We wanted as a board, and I think the majority of this board wanted to hear from all 3 of the candidates that came in to make a bid. And I really mean that. And we really want to hear from you. I don't want you to be afraid to speak. I don't think you should have been limited to 10 minutes. And whoever wrote that letter, I don't know if it's one of y'all, but I appreciate the boldness, because without that letter, I'm somebody that, you know, I feel like, you know, you only live once. And you can be politically right. You can do the things that people tell you, well, you're not supposed to act this way because if you ever want something in the future, you need to be, you know, polished. I appreciate no polish. And whoever wrote that letter, I don't know where we're going from this, but it opened up my eyes to at least question, and I appreciate it. It stood out. So thank you.
I did have one more question. Has HPM, have y'all ever done any projects in Montgomery on any type of project, not just schools, but any
Well, yeah, we've done quite a few. We have a team full-time in place over at the community college system right now that is housed in their offices over on Union Street that manages their campuses, the various projects over a certain size all over the state on the various campuses. We've got a team embedded with the Department of Corrections right now on trying to get this prison plan that the governor has promoted so heavily over the last few years across the finish line. And then, let me think, standing facilities, we did a res hall for AUM, time flies, probably 5 to 7 years ago. So we
Okay.
do know the marketplace here, yes.
Okay, and have y'all put any bids or any RFQs or anything else for any other projects that the city or county of Montgomery may be planning in the future?
We have not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot by having you here, and so I've been pretty impressed with some things I've heard. But for full transparency, my questions that I ask you, I will ask to the other presenters as well. So,
Okay.
As far as your DBE minority participation, what has your attainment been on building construction programs? Well, I'm sorry, let me ask that the right way. What are your DBE and minority participation attainment, and what has it been on building construction program management?
Well, for this plan, just to speak specifically to your needs, we've committed to a 30% participation within our contract. And I'm willing to commit that to you in the effect that Mr. Watts and Mr. Anderson can take good notes here, that any level below 30% that we don't attain, we'll drop that off of our fee. So if we can only get 20% of valued participation, and we'll take a 10% deduction on our fee for that. So that we have that commitment to you. If Derek were here, he would tell you his experience. He led 2 really large projects with the Atlanta Olympics for that program manager, who's not with us, and then also with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County Schools, where they were billion-dollar plans that achieved in the mid-20%. We worked with Mobile County about 5 or 6 years ago on a program that you'll see there on the back of your the document that I handed you, and I don't remember if we quoted it, but it was a good. I know we got at least 20% in the construction, and we exceeded 25% on the design side, and that was very important to that board as well.
I have a few more questions. I'm sorry, I typed them out
That's
on my
fine.
phone.
While you're looking for that, may I do a follow-up?
Go ahead, thank you. Well, I found it. I did.
Go ahead.
Okay. And this one is going to be as related to the person who will handle the DBE. With respect to the minority diverse business entity, what are the past projects similar to this endeavor? And I think you've answered it. Can you give insight into your organization's structure?
In achieving the DBE, the structure?
Yeah, I think you just answered some of it. So
Okay.
when I read it, I was like, I think I just heard that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the structure piece for us would be our mentor protege plan, and it's not just the firms that we mentor, but it's something that we encourage and foster through the development of relationships with the contractors and then their subcontractors to do the same.
Okay.
But as you know, anybody that tries to do this in the construction industry, it's not easy. We can't create firms out of thin air. We've got to have firms that can compete, because we're all bound by public bid laws. And we're also all bound to get good value and warranty-free projects that perform for the school district. And so it's a tight wire that we walk in trying to achieve a high participation and yet still achieve the outcome for the program.
I apologize, thank you. It was a follow-up to the conversation you had just a few minutes ago.
Okay,
I apologize again. Okay.
that's great.
When you
Thank
talked about the minimum or the 30% engagement, was that organizational participation or is that a financial commitment of 30%?
That is a financial commitment of the portion of the overall contract amount.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. I just, in closing, would ask you to consider, why I think we're the right answer to carry you guys into the future are these 5 bullet points that I've checked here on the right side. We have the experience. I didn't highlight that. It was in our submission, and then we're one team. Tracy's an employee of HPM, not a consultant that's going to be there for the planning, as he said, all the way through, refreshing it. We are the largest program manager in the state. We're ranked in the top 20 out of the top 50 program managers in the nation. And this is all we do. We're not an engineer. We're not a contractor. We're just a program manager.
And Madam President, I have one more, and this one will be quick. Mr. Richter? Okay. You mentioned that you worked in the 2012 plan. Would you tell me what plan? I was thinking to John when I heard it, but I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
the young Richter, I'm the Richter.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my firm that worked on that plan.
Okay.
In 2000, actually a couple plans, and then also wrote the program for this school and did multiple work on demographic and capacity analysis through the district too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have TCU.
Good evening. Dr. Moore, Chairman Wills, other board members. My name is Percy Thomas. I am 50% owner of TCU Consultants. Along with me, I have my partner, Ken Upchurch, who own the other 50%. We have our team members here, some of them. We have Tim Canty with our program director, and Juanetta, our administrators, and Randall Bowl is our planner. Our team would like to thank you all for the opportunity for this interview. We also thank you for the opportunity that you allowed us about 15 years ago to get TCU started. It was you, along with the County Commission, Alabama State University, the City of Montgomery, and this Montgomery community who allowed TCU to get it started. And we are ever grateful for that. This has allowed us pretty much grow across this state. And again, if it hadn't been for you, we wouldn't be standing here today proud after 16 years of being in business to be doing what we're doing today. Again, thank you, and I'm gonna turn it over to Ken and let him follow with our interview.
Thank you, Percy. As he said, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to thank Montgomery Public Schools as one of the lead entities that put its trust in us when we were starting a business that was very unusual in 2005. The partnership equal partnership of a black man and a white man. We're proud of what we've been able to accomplish together, and we're glad to be here. We're here because we believe in long-term relationships. We worked for this system for over 15 years. We've worked for other systems in the state in excess of 9 years. Usually when we get hired, we stay hired, and that's important to us. We always try to give our clients more than what they expect, and certainly more than what they contract with us for. Percy and I live the minority participation component every day. It's not something we've had to learn. It's not something we've had to team with other entities to provide. What we have done is tried to show this community that there's a pathway past participation to ownership if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to take chances. We're proud of the minority participation goals that the board in 2006, when they hired us, set. We, over the course of our projects, roughly $202 million for you, were able to achieve 41% minority participation on professional services and standalone contracts such as furniture, equipment, and fixtures. We achieved 22.1% in the construction market, which is very difficult in this community. When you start getting past about 16 or 17% of the construction minority participations, you start having to go outside of Montgomery. Montgomery just doesn't have the qualified minority contractors. We haven't done a good job of growing them in this community. But Percy, in his wisdom in the early 90s, started the Minority Business Association of Montgomery. And he has lived that this entire time. It wasn't easy. White contractors took advantage and said, look, we don't need you. We're going to get our own people. But he persevered. And he's standing here today as my 50% partner, simply because we became friends during those days when he was promoting minority participation when it wasn't a popular term. Dr. Keith, I heard you say that you hated TCU early on, and I heard you say tonight that you appreciated boldness and frankness, and I appreciated that boldness and frankness when you said that the other night, because program managers in general are not liked by architects or engineers because we have to make them do their job. They're not understood by boards of education. And so our chief goal when we get started with a new client is develop a trust. We start off behind the 8 ball, but if we can be successful and do our jobs right, we build trust. And I hope we're beginning to build some trust with you and that we will get the opportunity in the future. I liked when Mr. Barkin, last time y'all talked, took ownership of some of the issues that were raised. Montgomery's not a big community. There are not any secrets here. Y'all are in the political arena. You know what's going on. Percy refers to it as the street talk. I'm going to refer to it as addressing some concerns that have come our way during this process from the community and from others. TCU was founded in 2005. In June 2006, we were selected through an interview process with Montgomery Public Schools. 7 firms submitted. After nearly a month and a half of additional interviews, TCU was selected, and we were very proud of that. In July of 2007, almost 8 years after my construction company completed Halcyon Elementary School, Mr. Slagle, who was the Chief Operating Officer, has Mr. Anderson's position at the time, called me and asked me to come out to Halcyon about some issues. He had had a report done. It was the first we'd heard of any issues. It was not a pretty report, somewhat damning of our workmanship in certain areas. And it was only primarily around the lunchroom, cafeteria, kitchen area. Dealt with structural issues, dealt with water issues. I immediately took the report, shared it, had additional testing done on the building. We immediately agreed to fix the building, even though the water issue had occurred after the construction because of construction in the vicinity. We owned it, we fixed it, and to my knowledge, there have been no more issues at Halcyon Elementary School. If they have not been reported to our construction company. When you've been at this long enough, like personally now 16 years, other companies longer, you have issues on projects. It's not the fact that Tammy Knight said it best, no building's perfect. It's not what you build, but it's how you react to the problems that come your way. I've heard through the grapevine that Carver High School, where we stand today, has been an issue. Our records show there were 2 issues on Carver High School. One was a leak issue at the juncture of various building types on this building. We worked that issue with Mr. Dotson, who was the operations chief, on and off for over 3 years until it was completed. Did not cost MPS 1 penny. All of the repairs were done by the contractor. It was a combination of construction issues and architectural issues and building movement, which made it very difficult to find. You'd think you've had it and it was gone. So that was dealt with. Mr. Dotson called me one day and said, I just got a $160,000 water bill at Carver. What's going on? I said, I don't know, but we'll find out. We found the problem. The contractor had tied onto a line in accordance with the plans that the waterworks documents did not show existed. End result, the $160,000 of water bill was waived by the water board on our behalf in your favor. The system did have to pay $29,000 to install a new water line and valve, but had it been in the original construction, they would have paid it anyway. It was not new work. It was work that the contractor had done properly according to the original plans, but did not do in accordance with what should have been because the line was wrong. I've heard comments about Wilson Elementary School. I went back and looked at the records on Wilson Elementary School. In 2009, there were some issues with settlement related to the prairie soil that we all have in Montgomery. We got the engineers out there, we got the contractor out there, we did monitoring for 6 months, we understood the problem, the contractor corrected the problem, and to my knowledge, and the fact that our reports show that we have had no more calls on Wilson Elementary School since late 2009. Alabama State, we did a $300 million program for Alabama State. They had issues within the university, and it was a very publicized situation. Our records were scrubbed from top to bottom, and there were no issues found with them. It's been said that I didn't support the ad valorem tax. I did. I didn't provide financial support for the advertising campaign because since 2001, when I proposed a $30 million occupational tax to fund this district, I've worked continuously to support additional funding mechanisms for the school system. I chose not to put money into advertising and chose to support it by talking to the people that would listen to me. Our team, same team that's worked with this system forever. Juanetta Johnson has worked for superintendents in this district. I hired her away from the district to work with us, to lead our administrative efforts. Tim Canty has been our program director on most of Montgomery Public Works. We're not a big company. Everybody that works for us, and you can see everybody that's up there, works on multiple projects, but we think that's good because they see different solutions and different issues long before they come up. We work hard and we work efficiently, and you have a clear decision in this situation. You have 2 large firms from out of town and a local firm that has demonstrated that they can do the work. We've worked We started here. That led to our work in Huntsville. Many people said we couldn't scale our operation, that we were just here because of the Montgomery community and we were local. We've done almost $300 million worth of work in Huntsville, and I would like to say that the criticism that has come our way about us not looking after projects after we're finished is borne by the fact that Huntsville just rehired us to do their next building program because of the work that we did here. They hired us originally because of the recommendations that came out of this system of our work and our craftsmanship. That led to a program in Auburn where currently we're in the mid 100 million range. They have annually renewed our contract and have just recently done so. That system is growing so fast that they don't have time to change horses when they've got a good program. I know I'm getting short on time, but I want to talk about TCU. You know us. We have the same skill sets that the bigger boys do. We just have it on a more local level. Our knowledge and experience working relationship with the local construction community and architect community is an invaluable asset to y'all that nobody else can bring to the table. We've proven to previous administrations and previous employment within MPS that we can be trusted and that we put your interests first. We participated in every planning study since 2000 in this district. Tracy Richter, who now works for HPM, is a good friend of mine. I brought his partner, Bill DeYoung, to Montgomery for the initial planning. I brought Tracy to Montgomery when he came. They worked with us and for you through this whole process. They've built good work. Tracy left his firm. We have engaged the firm he was with as our partner, Cooperative Strategies. Most of the people that were on your planning team, Tracy's planning team, are on our team now. You don't need to do another plan right now, at least initially. You need, as a relatively new board and a relatively new in administration, to go back and look at the old plans from 2000, 2005, 2012, 2015 update, because none of them were completely implemented. Some of them weren't implemented because you ran out of funds. Some of them weren't implemented because of the environment in which Montgomery operates and deals with Montgomery Public Schools. It's hard to close schools, regardless of what a plan says. And so until you understand completely what is done before, you really don't know what to ask for in the next plan. So our historic perspective will help you do that. I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what happens with plans. They have to be updated, as Tracy said. I agree with him 100%, but you also have to know the backstories and the stuff that's just not in the records, and we can bring that to you. Why TCU? In 16 years, we've managed in excess of $1 billion of our clients' assets. We've had no late deliveries. School is always open on time on our watch, and all of our projects have been delivered within or under budget. We're a strategically sized organization. We don't have to have the bureaucracy and administrative costs that the big boys have. I went back and looked at all of our contracts with MPS to date. Our last contract was for a 3.25% fee on dollars managed. I'll commit to you today, even though it hadn't been asked about fees, that if we're hired, our fee will not exceed that 3.25% of dollars managed for the same services that we've provided you in the past. We think it's important that you understand what the market is. When we first started working for MPS in 2006, the fees were higher, but it's a more competitive market now. There's more people that do what we do. And so we think that while it's not required under an RFQ, We think it's important that you understand what the market is as you begin to negotiate a contract with whomever you decide to select. I could stand here all day and talk about how great we are. All the others could too, but we just prefer that you call our clients, ask about our performance. I also suggest that you call and talk to the people that we worked with in Montgomery Public Schools that may still be here or have recently left, because I think they will be an unvarnished opinion of what our value is. I think I'm going to stop there and see if there are any questions, and then I've got just one closing remark. Dr. Keith.
Mr. Upchurch, I want to address you because you did address me, and I want you to just listen to me for just a second. I do appreciate bluntness, and when I know no other way but to be just as blunt. And I admit that when I first came on this board 6 years ago, I came on as an angry citizen. There was not a political bone in my body. The public put me up there because of the grade changes and what was going on. We had a radio announcer here who is now deceased, who did help me, you know, free, put me where I am today. And he didn't like you. And you have to understand, I didn't trust anybody. I let the public know that. And the public, even today, even though I make them mad and some of them I make them glad, every one of them will say, you know what, if you want to know the darn truth, you ask Dr. Keith, because she's going to tell it whether you like it or not.
We agree.
And I will say this, if it weren't for Mr. Percy, and Juanetta Johnson, who I have seen your team every time I've gone to Orange Beach, no matter, you all are there, consistent, loyal, and you are now like family. And I mean that.
Thank
and
you.
I'm not trying to be nice.
Thank you.
It took y'all bringing Tim Canty to me, and because I didn't trust anybody. I was told by a ex-mayor that I actually really like now to shut up on the Faulkner steps. So would you not humanly be angry at that? Yes. Would you not hate the world? Would you not know who not to trust? Yes. It took me to this superintendent. I've given every superintendent we've had pure HELL because I didn't trust them. This superintendent will tell you now, it took me to this year to really believe in her. I watched her last week stand up and say, you know what, y'all have been lobbied. And I loved it because we have been. And this is the hardest decision that I've made, period, in 6 years. Because to me, you now are like family. When they brought Tim Canty, who knew my father, who was vice president of National Industries, like what I said to the company Volkert, what I liked about Volkert is they owned it. What I heard from you tonight, I've been in real estate for 20 years. I own Tri-County Signature Homes. I still sell real estate kind of on the side. I'm still teaching. I teach at South University and I teach at Success Unlimited. I will die teaching. And what I'm saying to you is, you said something very truthful. You went through each of your schools. You went to Wilson and you brought up prairie soil. If there's anybody that understands prairie soil and parts of Montgomery, you have to understand Montgomery because you can go to Cloverdale and you have to explain the cracks and everything. So I know you're being frank and honest. It is a huge decision. But let me ask you this one question. I'm putting you on the spot because we're being real.
Please do.
You said we could be blunt.
Please do.
You look at Lamp, and it's beautiful. But you look at and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's in my head. Why did we have to put a new roof after just 5 years? Even a house roof lasts more than that. And when you read articles like what Ms. Bailey and I read, you begin to go, you look at the warranty and you go, a year warranty on so much money.